Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name's Jade, and this is The Interview. And today on the show we have Tremor Bear. Carlos is with us. It's going to be super fun. We're going to kick off with one of his tracks called Jaguar. The show is sponsored by DistroKid. Let's go! Hello. Welcome to the show. My name is Jade, and this is The Interview. It is Friday morning here in Australia. Yes, I'm always very excitable on Friday. Why? Because I got a special guest I can play with for 2 hours. We can all play with them for 2 hours. I can see him laughing in the green room. It's going to be a fun one. And it's my holiday tomorrow. And Walk With Me is up on the channel ready for tomorrow. It's season 6 finale, so hopefully you come and join us for that. All right, we have an awesome guest today. A long time Pokemon I've wanted to collect on my list. He's going to join us. But of course, we have to mention some important things because today's show is sponsored by our dear friends at DistroKid. Do you want to get your music shared across all of these fantastic places like Amazon and Apple and Spotify, and they don't pay you very much, but your music is on tap for any time, for anyone, anywhere around the world. You can do it with DistroKid for the very low price of $24.99. But if you use my code sitting up the top in the description, it's everywhere you can find it. You'll get 7% off your first year. What is included in that musician plan where you get one artist and you can upload unlimited songs, unlimited lyrics, Spotify check marks, split your royalties with your collaborators, access to heaps of tools, plus a mobile app that you can even upload your music from your phone. Yes, it is true. It's true. There are two other plans. The Musician's Plan, which is $44.99 a month. You get 2 artists and a bunch of other cool things like synced lyrics, daily streaming stats, customizable label names, all this kind of stuff. Or you can go the whole hog like me and join up the ultimate where I have 5 artists. I think I've got 8. Who knows? I can't remember these days, but it is $89.99 a year, and you get all these super benefits. And that's how you get your music out. Thank you, DistroKid, for sponsoring the show. Remember, there's a link in the description. You use it, yeah? And I get notified, and DistroKid keeps supporting me, so please do that. It does help. All right. Now, this dude has been around our little cool community here for the longest time. I can't remember a time when I haven't seen this artist around. He's just a staple. He's collaborated with many artists, and wow, I don't know enough about him, so today we're going to find out heaps more. So without further ado, let's bring him on. It is Tremor Bear, also known as Carlos to many of us, but Tremor Bear. Let's bring him on. Let me get his microphone ready and get the applause ready. You ready, crowd? You ready? Let's do it. Tremor Bear. Ah, yeah, that's right, baby. Yeah, wrap it up, guys. All right. Carlos, how you going?
Hey.
Hey.
What's up?
Welcome to the show. Welcome.
Oh, thank you for inviting me, man. It's awesome.
I'm very stoked to have you on. Are you excited?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, very excited, but nervous at the same time.
You know, I get nervous too. It's a different kind of nervous. I get nervous. I don't want to fuck this up. I don't want to ever come away from an interview where somebody I have on doesn't look better than, you know, I want to leave you in a better place than before. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. You want to drop me off at the best place, right?
Exactly. I want to take you to a palace and leave you there with all the trimmings. And what am I talking about? I'm a dickhead. Hey, thank you everybody who's here in the chat today. You're all wonderful. I just want to remind you too, straight after this show, I've got a dump set. It's Laurie Mishmosh's birthday over on Frank Turzo's channel. I'll dump you over there. Let's get into it. Let's just kick it off with Carlos. What does music mean to you?
Ooh,
boom.
I've had music since I was a kid around me. My parents loved music, played records. I still have this memory of me in diapers, and my mom set up a bunch of pots and pans around me, and I played the drums to Please Me. Is that the name of it from the Beatles? Yeah. Anyways, so I remember all of that, you know. There was constantly singing and music in my house all the time.
Has there ever been can you remember a point in your life at some time where music has had such a profound impact, be it good or bad, that it has stuck with you? Even a song that has resonated with you even to this day that reminds you of a time, good or bad?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of songs and music that I listened to. I was constantly listening to music, and I mean, I have a bunch of songs. Now, in 2010, I went to see U2 again, and when Bono started singing, I started crying. I rarely cry for stuff like that. When I heard his voice, I was like, man, I had forgotten. I saw them in the 80s here in Tucson. In Tucson, we used to get the big bands and the whole thing. And, you know, I saw them, I think it was 86 or 7. And, you know, I was just in my 20s then. But when I heard them again, you know, that feeling, I think we've all had it, the chills, and you get the chills, and then you tear up, and then he's singing and the edge and the whole thing. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. That's killer.
See, that to me, you just described what music is to me. That's it. That's my thing. Does music have to make you emote? Do you have to feel something to enjoy a song, or is it a bit of a spectrum where, you know, you can just, hey, that's a, you know, does that make sense?
Yeah, it's exactly that. Sometimes songs, you know, little parts will set you off, you know, like, for example, I love guitar. I love sound, you know, like keyboards and drums and the whole thing. So sometimes I'll hear a little part and I'm like, oh man, that sounded so awesome. That was amazing. Just little parts of song. And then there's whole songs that just blow you away. I think we all have all that, right? Even now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a sucker for, like, if a song hits me and I get goosebumps or I start to tear up, that's in the playlist. That's going there. Like, I'm a sucker for a feeling or a story
Mhm.
with songs. Do you think, let's talk about this, because you kind of touched on these, just this brief, in answering that question of, like, even today, you kind of put out there. Do you think, what's your opinion on modern pop music? I mean, we grew up through 70s and 80s, the 80s electronic explosion, and the 90s angst, the come down from all the cocaine of the 80s. Is music now in a good place, do you think?
I would say no. It's very commercialized. It's kind of like, when I was growing up, I make weird analogies. When I was growing up, you would go to the like the 7-Eleven, or we have Circle K's here or whatever, and you get your pack of gum and that, and it looked a certain way. Now you go and get that same pack of gum and it looks synthetic. It doesn't look right. It's like, what did they do? Even the coins here, when I drop them on the floor, they sound different. It's like, what did they add? What did they take away? And everywhere it's like that. The only place that doesn't get me that way is when you go outside and you see nature, and there it is, boom. I have the mountains here and you have the ocean there, but when you see it, it still looks the same as when you saw it when you were a little kid. And that's why I like going outside so much.
Me too. You touched on something there, this size economy thing and the cheapening of things. When I was out filming Walk With Me this week, I went to this donut truck. I know, you probably, where's this stupid story going? But in my mind, I was building up these donuts going, oh, they're the best donuts. And I'm going from a memory of probably about 9 years old. And I bought them. Man, they were really expensive. When I pulled the first one out, I was like, this thing's tiny. I remember this being, it was amazing. Is it just because I was small then, or has it changed? I think it has changed. I think everything's getting smaller, everything's getting cheaper, and especially
Yeah.
food. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Hamburgers are this big now. It
Yeah.
used to be like that. I call it McDeath. McDonald's, I call it McDeath. Burger King, I call Booger King. We call it Taco Bell, Taco Hell.
Wow. All right. So I guess we can say, Tremor Bear, ladies and gentlemen, put on the resume, not a fan of junk food.
Oh, yeah, but I know it's bad for you, and I like being.
Oh, you do eat it.
Oh yeah, In-N-Out Burger, yum.
In-N-Out's pretty good. I mean, the lines used to be, when I was living there, the lines for In-N-Out was like, it's just a burger.
Mhm.
Is everyone all right here? Like, what's going on?
It's a sandwich, man. Come on, it's a sandwich.
Yeah, when I got back to Australia, I started saying that to people. I'm like, no, it's a sandwich. They're like, get out. Back to
Like,
America for you. It's a burger. Hey, we just got the birthday girl pour in here. Hello, Laurie's Mishmash. It's Laurie's birthday
Hey,
today.
Laurie.
Everybody wish her a happy birthday. We'll be dumping you over to her special thing to the show. Something. Carlos, do you remember the music that was being played in your household as a nipper, Tremor Bear? And who were some of those artists? You said you had a musical family. Yeah. So who?
Yeah, definitely. So my sisters were my oldest sister. She was 11 years older than me. So it was 11 years older, 9 years older, 6 or 7, and then 4, and I was the youngest. So you could imagine. So when Maria was 20, I was 9 years old, and I was listening to her music way back in the 60s, 70s. and my dad would buy them albums. My dad would actually buy them like Beatle albums, and I'd take them to the front yard and play hopscotch or whatever that is on them, and they'd come out yelling. I'd take them out of the sleeve. That's how doofy it was. I was a doofy kid.
Russ is pretty happy right now.
I destroyed them, Russ. They had to buy them again.
So that sounds like it's pretty dangerous. Wouldn't they slip?
I don't remember. I was a dumb kid. No.
Man, I'm a dumb kid now.
But it was, you know, my parents came in 1956 from Mexico, so they also brought their music. I know that here they call it Spanish music, but to us Mexicans here, you know, Spanish means Spain. You know, Mexican, Spanish is. Anyways, so I grew up listening to a guitar trio that my dad loved. They were called Los Panchos, and amazing guitar players. I would listen to that. I would listen to Vicky Carr and what was Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass, along with all the rock and roll and all the pop music that was on the radio. And my oldest sister, Maria, she sang in the choir or something like that in high school. So they used to do a lot of the movie tunes. And to practice, she would have me sing along with her, even though I couldn't sing, but I was a kid. It was different back then. So a lot of the music from the movies and things like that just swirled in my, you know, and I've heard Pete John say, "Oh, it sounds like, you know, Tremor Bear, your music sounds like a soundtrack." And that's probably why.
I grew up in a household with two sisters, and I can repeat the entire script and songs of Charlotte's Web, Grease 1 and Grease 2 backwards in my sleep. And am I thankful for it? Hell yeah. Charlotte's Web has some really good songs.
Listen to that.
They're a bit infantile. I mean, they're made for children. But that's me. Did any of the music that oh no, I want to go back actually, because you touched on a point there about music being called Spanish. What is the deal? What because you're right, you know, that's Spain. I think of Spain. What is the correct term?
Mexican music, I guess. You know, it's like Australian rock, British rock, American rock, just the country, I guess. Argentinian rock, you know, rock from here or there or whatever. But Mexican music has in Latin America, you have different types of music and rhythms. You know, like in Mexico, you get the like the cumbia, the norteño. Norteño means northern part of Mexico. And then in I think in Cuba, you have the salsa. In Dominican Republic, you have this rhythm called the bachata. And then you have, it probably sounds the same to everybody, you know, when you listen to it, because all you hear is congas and a lot of rhythm and, you know, dance type of thing. But yeah, it's real different everywhere. And in fact, Argentina, and I bring Argentina up because I remember Roque here in our community. I think that's where the tango comes from, you know, and the mambo, I think, and the something else comes from Brazil. Anyways, so it's just different everywhere, you know.
A lot of good music comes from there. That's the point. And unfortunately, you live in a country at the moment that have always found it hard to be kind to people who are a little bit different. Even this much. Anyway, we'll talk about that kind of stuff later on. Let's keep talking about music, because I'm always interested in this question. The first album that you purchased with that little bare money, and the first one that was gifted to you.
The gift, I do remember. It was a little 45. I don't know if you guys remember the little 45s.
Damn straight.
It was it was a girl band called the Honeycomb, and the song was called Wonads. You know, it sounded like the Jackson 5 type of music, but that was my first record that somebody bought for me. I think it was my sister's. I can't remember the one that I bought, but it probably had to do with R&B, like Funkadelic or Lakeside or something like that. Maybe even George Benson. I bought it later. But you know what? Very different from. There you go. See, I've never seen them. Look at the middle one. I had it like that.
Look at that hair.
That's sweet.
You could hide anything you want in that hair.
Yeah, you put your picks in there and your guitar strings.
Yeah.
Put a set of strings.
I would gladly go to a nightclub with any of these girls because I could probably hide things in there that I want to get into the nightclub.
But yeah, that was my first record, 72. So I was about 9 years old. But I grew up on pop, Motown, soul, R&B, funk, all that. Rarely did I listen to rock. Later on, when I got into junior high, which here it used to be 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, some friends, I'd go over their house and, I would listen to Foghat, BTO. I love BTO. What is it? Beckman Turner Overdrive. But even Sabbath, I would hear, but I didn't know what I was listening to. It was so foreign to me. I was like, man, what's that? Are they just scratching like tin together to get that sound? And it was distorted guitar. I was a dumb kid.
Hey, we're all dumb kids. No kid starts out smart, Carlos. If there is, get him. Isn't that what we do these days? If someone's, get him, that kid's too smart, catch him. I love it. All right, we'll do this one, then we'll jump into another song. I know it's everybody's favorite. Well, is it everybody's favorite question? I don't know about that. It's mine. The recorder.
I played it.
Ooh.
I liked it. I would skip around the house, play the recorder, and my sisters would throw stuff at me because I could play it. I was in shape. I had the breath to do it. Figure out songs. I used to play Fiddler on the Roof. I used to do all that. I was a weird little kid with a lot of curly hair.
Wow. Now
I had an afro.
You had an afro. See, I would have taken you to that club too to get in. I've got this image forever. Every time I see you now in the chat, skipping around. We're all going to feel like that now, aren't we, everybody in the chat? The Fiddler on the Roof. That's my new nickname for you. Oh, dear. So what about school? Because, some where you grow up, some schools have music courses, schools don't. Some push it hard, some, was that something that you were introduced to at an early age with school?
Grade 5, 5th grade.
Yep.
I wanted to play the drums. I remember going to the music shop and seeing that blue sparkly snare, and I was like, oh, I want to play that so bad. My mom said, nope, not that. She was smart. She knew what she was talking about. She got me a viola and said, here, you're going to play this. So I played viola for 3 years. 5, 6, and 7. And the viola is written in the C clef. So the C clef is between the treble and the bass clef. It was a C clef. But in between playing the viola in 6th grade is when I started playing the guitar. And I started getting more attention with guitar than the viola. I remember my mom would call the relative and they would come over. Come on, Carlos, play that song for them. And I'd get my viola and play, and they were nice and they would clap. I probably sounded like crap, but oh well.
I doubt it. if you were handed a viola right now, would you be able to play it?
No, one of the things that's happened is I have this thing called an essential tremor, and that's why I go by Tremor Bear, because Bear was my high school nickname. And my left hand is very shaky now. I have a hard time with barcodes, bar chords, I mean, on guitar, and I can't pick my nose with my left anymore. I have to use my right. What else can I do with my left? I could never write, I guess, with my left. Just, anyways,
I'm sitting here
physically
thinking,
things have changed.
I was sitting here thinking, did I spark that with the before the show talking about picking my nose every time I put the camera on you?
Well, you can let them know.
Well, that is so. How long have you been dealing with that?
Well, in the last 4 or 5 years, it's gotten worse. I have a really hard time, just I can't use tools that well anymore. Like I used to fix my own cars. I could fix stuff, but now I have a hard time just holding a screwdriver to it. That's one of the hardest things, is any fine motor hand movements. It's a pain in the ass, man. It's hard. It gets me angry because I can't do it. Like right now, one of my daughter's cars it needs like some oxygen sensors and a solenoid. Excuse me. And I could do it, but I can't because of my hands. I can't hold the tools.
So frustrating.
Yep.
I mean, it's interesting. Like, well, it's not interesting. I wish it wasn't this way, but we're all just a bunch of broken toys here, aren't we? I've said this before. We've all got our little things, and how do you compartmentalize all this kind of stuff? Like you guys know about my bleeding. I don't talk about it. I try not to talk about it that much because it sucks. And you create, for me, I create little scenarios in my head to tell myself, this is not that bad.
Well, I think we all do that, right?
Yeah. What else? What else can you do? Do you have something you tell yourself to get through it?
I can't think about it, and I can't say, well, I can't play anymore. I better sell all my stuff, all this junk that you see behind me. And Clayton, that thing that you see in the back, see the bookshelf? That's a wall curtain or whatever you call it. It's not a blue screen. This is my room. My room right here. Anyways, but I don't think about it, Jade. I just do what I need to do. I can do like big movements, so I clean a lot because I'm retired now. I clean, I vacuum, I mop, I clean the yard. I do things like that I can do. Otherwise, you start feeling useless. So you just got to do stuff, man.
Yeah.
Do it.
That's why I do this, and I find this, take away my own thing, but even these interviews, I find this very inspiring to hear all your journeys. It's super important to hear all this stuff. I mean, we just got an origin story and I didn't even ask about it, because I had that on the list here. Tremor Bear, how did that come about? And I didn't even imagine in my small brain that it was to do with that. I thought maybe you survived an earthquake.
No. So one of the things about where I grew up in the south part of Tucson, it was near the airport. Howard Hughes had a plant there. It was called Hughes Aircraft. It turned into Raytheon. But in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and even into the early 80s, they used a chemical to clean aircraft, to clean airplanes. And it all went into the drains and went into the water. So a lot of us that live there in the south side, a lot of my friends and people my age, a little younger and older, we all have like autoimmune problems. I have real bad arthritis. My spine is always hurting. I constantly have headaches. I break out in fever blisters constantly. Like every 2 weeks, I have a blister, either right here on my lip or inside my mouth. So we're all screwed up, man.
We sure are. It's once you hit a certain number, everything's fucked. Like I woke up this morning going, "Is that's weird? I think I've pulled a muscle in my back from sleeping."
I once saw a bumper sticker on this old man's car. It said, "If it don't hurt, it don't work."
That's true. I was saying to Russ before this interview with his muscle I've pulled in my, it's back here. I go, dude, I can't even reach it to rub anything on it. It's in a position that there's absolutely no way. There's no way. I can't. What am I going
I have a trick for you.
What's
Get
that?
a long sock, put a tennis ball in it, put it over your back, and go up against the wall and rub your back. It works, man.
All right. That's the end of the show. See you later, folks.
All right.
All my problems. I'm doing that. I've got a tennis ball in.
I put rocks.
Who knew this was going to turn into a how to cure ailments show?
A healing show.
Yeah. All right, let's play a song, man. I've got to pick one, don't I? All right. I love doing this. I get to pick them randomly. Let's do this one. This is called Complexity. Do you want to tell us about this song while I cue it up?
Sure. So personally, I believe that some people believe in evolution, but I believe, or I know, this place that we live in was created and it's real complex. I heard someone say that it would be the same as a tornado going through a junkyard and leaving a complete 747 fully fueled, on and ready to fly. It's like virtually impossible for chaos to create something like that. And a bang can't create where we live. So I just called it complexity.
Beautiful.
That's it.
Let's do it, folks. Tremor Bear. Complexity. Let's oge. Welcome back, everybody. That was indeed, was a Complexity. That was called, wasn't it? Yes, indeed. Complexity from Tremor Bear. Now, there's something about your music that I've noticed over the years is that you are very consistent with very high quality music.
Well, that blows my mind because I'm not a high quality person. I'm like, I shop at the dollar store.
The look on your face as I was saying that was like, what? Hang on.
You're making me cry. No, not really. I have allergies.
I knew today was going to be fun. No, but it's true. I obviously that's why people want to do what do they do? Collaborations. That's the word. Sorry, brain's not working. But no, it's definitely a thing. Every time I've heard your music, from the first time I heard you on YML all the way through to now, very, very consistent. I've been playing, back in the day when I used to play songs on each show before people cried about it too much and I had to stop. It was just, you see patterns of very consistent music, and, there's never really a bad mix or anything like that. So that leads me to ask you the question about lessons. Firstly, the guitar. So you say viola, then you pick up a guitar. Did you just pick it up? And what was your first guitar? And did you have lessons? Tell us the guitar story of Carlos.
So my youngest sister of the four, Patty, she's 4 years older than me, Patty. She had a nylon string because she wanted to learn how to play guitar. And my sisters were in college, and there was these dudes that would come over because they were friends with them. And there was one guy from Mexico. His name was Julio, like me and Julio down by the schoolyard thing. His name was Julio, and he played guitar. And I said, here, show me. And he showed me how to play D, C, and G. And within 2 weeks, I think I was playing a little bit better than him. And my sister Maria, who used to sing a lot, we started just hanging out there at the house and playing like Puff the Magic Dragon, John Denver songs, Jim Croce. Is that how you say his name? Or I can't say his name right. America, all those songs that were in the early 70s, all those kind of folky things, James Taylor, Carole King and all that. We would just sit and play stuff like that. I miss Maria. She passed away in 2020, right, when the pandemic started. My sister Maria was an electrical engineer. She went to the university and got a degree in electrical engineering. And I remember the summer of 2020, she couldn't finish her sentences. And I was like, what's going on? That's weird. And we thought dementia was setting in. Well, that started happening like the end of June, July, it got worse. August, by September, it was really bad. So I said to my other sisters, I'm taking her to the hospital. I took her to the hospital, and that night, they did an MRI, and she was just loaded with cancer. I saw the MRI.
Man.
Her brain was speckled with cancer, and that was the thing that was happening. 2 weeks after that, she passed away.
I'm sorry, mate.
Oh yeah, and it was real hard because in 2014 we lost our second to the oldest sister. Her name was Flora.
Oh man.
And then a year later, my mom passed away. She said, I have to go with her. I can't leave her alone wherever she went. So then my mom, I know, it was heartbreaking. It was so hard. And then when Maria died, it was like, it's just been hard. It's been really hard. Of the seven of us, meaning my mom and dad and my four sisters and I, there's only three of us left, and at first it was hard because it's like the three youngest ones, especially with me. I was so used to calling my mom up or talking to, the older sisters and asking them, what do you think about this or that?
Oh.
And they were gone. So little Carlitos here to grow up pretty quick and, do his own thing. But you know what? It's amazing because like, you know, that I'm a Christian and I read my Bible and all that stuff. I remember being in the emergency room with Maria, and when the doctor came in, Maria woke up, and then he asked her, "Hey, did you hear what I said?" And she said, "Yes." And then she quoted part of the Bible where it says that to be absent from the body is to be present with Christ. And the doctor said, "What did she say?" And I repeated it, and his eyes got all round, teary, you know. And I told him it's a verse in the Bible. So, um, but what do we do, right? We've all lost people. Everybody's gonna somebody. We're gonna lose dogs. We're gonna use horses. We're gonna lose all kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean that's life is a lot of loss. It is, and it almost feels like sometimes it's a test to see how you're going to deal with all this shit we're going to throw at you.
Right?
You got 70 years, maybe. Here you
Maybe.
go. Let's just throw it all at you, and it's like, you know what? Can we take a break just for a week?
Yeah, so that's what I think, that's what this music in this community is. I think for a lot of us is just it's a break, man.
Yeah.
Get to listen to each other's music. We're kind to each other, you know. Honestly, there are some songs that I listen to and I take my headphones off and say I'm going to take a break because I can't hear that stuff. But I'll never say it.
No, we're all like that. We are.
I know.
We are.
I know we're like that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, it's not something new or something surprising, but yeah.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, even if this community didn't exist, right? And we talk about this a lot, the philosophy of music on Clubhouse. People think we just call each other the C word over there, which we do, but there's some good conversation that goes on. And you think about it, if we weren't here on YouTube with all these fantastic, unique individual artists, we'd be doing the same thing on Apple Music, skipping. You know, on Spotify.
Yep.
You like what you like. And but the difference is the ability to turn around and go, hey, awesome stuff. Not my cup of tea, but far out amazing.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, you're just bullshitting, you know.
But on the other hand, you know, I realize, and I'm sure a lot of other people in the community realize, that we're not at a studio like where these big hits were made. Even though we have our computers and we have our plugins and, you know, all these cool things, it takes time to learn how to use them right, correctly, and how to get, you know, good tone and all that, how to mix and master. Some of my first songs, especially like with Ian and the Skeptics, man, you know, Ian is so nice. He's a nice guy. He would just email me back and say, "Hey, Carlos, you know, do this, do that." All right, okay, you know, because I couldn't hear it. But just because I couldn't hear it doesn't mean that it is that way, you know. But anyways, yeah. So when somebody writes a song and they put it out and they sing, whether they have the great, you know, nice singing voice or not, we have to compliment each other.
Yeah.
Because we've had so much rap in our life already. We don't need more soggy diapers thrown at us. That's what I call the president now. President Soggy Diapers. That's what
The texture of shit. That's what,
you know, I'm just gonna bring this up. Yeah, exactly.
you do it.
So the Skeptics, we did one song that I forget the name of it. It was just like a month or two ago. And it was about, you know, the political situation here in the US. And after that, the views on our songs started going way down. People, I don't want to hear this anymore.
It's a weird. Let's go there first. Let's say hello to everybody, because I mean, there's 37 people here just to see you today. So, so thank you, everybody. And we should call out some names. So, folks, you know the deal. If you want your name called out, type something so I don't have to find you. And I'll do my best to scroll. But we got David Live to Fly, Roque, welcome. Thomas Christ, Robbie Stingle, Paul O'Farrell, Frank Terzo, Rainfield Music, Clayton Von Kluge, Hugh Caldwell, Joe Glenn, Forrest of the Wolf, Jenny and Ron Wolfstone are in the house. Pookie Ann R celebrating her birthday. Who else? There's more people. I saw Pete Johns right at the top do a little quick hello. Adorable Anarchy, if I could say it right. Did I say Robbie Stingle? I'll say it again. Robbie Stingle. I'll say it 3 times. Robbie Stingle. Feisty Feathers in the house. God, I hate having glasses. I can. The text in front of me is so big I still can't see it. Doug Kidd is hiding in the attic. Creepy. I love it. I think I've got most people. If I've missed you, there's Pete's tuning in from bed. Pete's in bed. Oh, that conjures images, doesn't it?
I could feel his hairy leg.
Oh, I think I need a shower now. Denise is here as well. Russ, who's hardly been typing anything in the chats, has come out just to say hello to Tremor. For those of you who don't know, Russ has been around. He's here nearly every day. He's just not chatting at the moment. Just shit's going on. Yeah, happens. Doesn't it? We all need a break because the chat can be sometimes a little bit, I don't want to chat today. Anyway, Clayton Von Kluge, Pookie, is it your birthday? Pookie, is it? All right, let's talk about this, man, because, all right, I ask you to send me your bio. And in your bio, you're like, I'm a Christian, you know, I follow Jesus Christ, all this, which I know. But I don't like Trump, all right? I just need to get it out there and make you know. Because, right, sometimes, and, you know, I'm going to take accountability. We talked about this at the start of the show. Sometimes I can be a bit, and I think we all can, a bit blanket with we're not trying to include everyone in a statement. It's like, but sometimes we do it. We paint everybody with the same brush. And I've been guilty of it too with the current political climate and, you know, trans are the enemy of everybody. We're the fault. We're causing all the problems. And I sometimes go, hey, man, look at some of these Christian people who follow Trump. They're not. They're not Christian.
They're not. Everything
about them is not. So it was interesting when you wrote that. I was like, dude, I know you're not deranged. So, yeah, how is the climate over there going?
So look, check this out. For years, I've been playing at church, and, you know, when I used to chat and put in the chat, like a few years ago, I play live a lot. It was true. I would play about 5 or 6 times at a church, and it's not a small church. It's a big church. Sometimes, you know, we would play in front of a few thousand, you know, 10, 11, 12,000 people sometimes. But with this whole thing about, you know, MAGA and all of that, it's like eating a bad taco, man. It's like, man, I don't want anything to do with that. I'm not coming back to eat here anymore.
86 the taco.
There you go.
Oh, I've done it all in one go.
But so it's a bummer because I'm not playing anymore, but at the same time, it's all right. I mean, you know, just because, you know, you follow Jesus and all that doesn't mean that you have to be at church. It's good to be at church. Sure. It's good to be around other people. You know, it's like us here. We're around each other because we have similar interests, right? With our music and our recording and all that fun stuff that we do. Man, I'm not going to, bad taco. Clayton, he's funny.
You are killing it today. But we were talking about this before the show. I find what's going on in America fascinating because, like, there's a whole lot of stuff that comes out every day that is so focused on bad stuff. So that's all we kind of see. And when I lived there, Trump had just been elected for the first time, and I was getting off the plane going, shit, he's gonna win this. And then when I got to America, I was like, I was telling everyone, he's going to win. And they're like, no. Like, he's going to win, man. I've been saying it for 2 years. And when he did, but I didn't experience any of the the stuff that everyone was saying was happening in America when I lived there on the ground, on ground level. I didn't experience any hate or is it just blown out? Like, and the reason I'm asking you this is because of all this deportation stuff. And are you nervous about it? Because I know a bunch of people who are Mexican and from South America, and they're fucking scared. Is this something that you think about?
Yeah, because here's an example. My wife been married for 22 years already. She's from Germany. So
Right.
when you see her, she's a white person, right? And she understands she's not even a citizen here in the US. She's a German citizen. She carries a green card. Anyways, if you were to see her walking in the mall or, at a store, you wouldn't even think twice, right? You would just go, oh, just another person. But if you were to see me walking through, and I've had this happen, I remember some kids here at Target. They walked by me and they said, "Hey, dirty Mexican, why don't you go back to Mexico?"
What?
Yeah, and I wanted to slap them, but they were just kids, and I knew that they were listening to their parents.
Yeah.
And I turned around and I said, I was born here. Then I thought, I don't have to explain any of that to anybody.
No.
People don't care where you were born. People don't care who you are. If they're talking to you like that, like with the trans stuff, they don't care who Jade is. They don't care that you do your crap. All they care is making you feel miserable. That's all they care. So if you try to talk to them, you can. It's like talking to a cat. I don't understand.
I don't know about that. I've had some pretty good conversations with a cat when I had a cat.
I once heard a saying that said, if dogs don't go to heaven, I want to go where dogs go.
Me too. Me too. Man, that is disgusting. It's so weird, isn't it? Like, I go out every week and film Walk With Me, and in this episode, I tried something new of like putting the camera on slow motion, super slow motion, pinning it to my chest and just walking past people and getting slow motion views of people. And every shot I took, I went back and as I was editing it going, God, every shot, it feels like there's like every nationality of person in it. And in my brain, when I'm filming it, I'm not going, there's a black person, that guy's Asian. How do people get to this fucking mindset where that is the first thing instead of like, hello? It's no, that person's black. Maybe I won't say how. I just don't understand where. It's disgusting.
I think it has to do with when you were brought up, how you were brought up. And, I thought about this story earlier and I said, should I say it or not? But I'm going to say it.
Of course.
So when I was a kid, we lived in these apartments and I had a friend, it was just a little boy. We were little boys and I wasn't even 10. I was maybe 7 or something. But anyways, he was a black little boy he didn't have a bike, but I did. And he always wanted to ride my bike. And, I'd let him sometimes, but how we are as kids. Come on, let me ride your bike. So one time he brought me some lifesavers. And he goes, here, you can have these and I'll ride your bike. And I said, okay. And I think my dad saw or heard or something like that. And he took me aside one day and he told me, hey, you got to be careful with black people because if you invite one, they're all going to show up. They're all going to show up, right? And my dad's from Mexico, born in the 20s. And then he told me this thing, Jay, check this out. He said, and with white people, you got to be real careful because they could either get you in trouble or they can do something and you're the one that goes to jail. They don't. You'll get busted. You. So when you're with your, he used the G word, the gringo. When you're with gringo friends, don't do what they tell you to do. Just. And my best friend was white from Ohio, Doug, Mr. Dougie. I haven't seen Doug in a while, but we were best friends. But we get it. We got that. And I remember as a little kid thinking, okay, I better be careful because the house is going to fill up with a bunch of, people. And I didn't think black people. I just thought of people. And then later on, we get older and we start to realize that, it's just bad stuff, man. We're taught bad things.
Yeah.
I've heard your stories about your dad, and I'm like,
No,
oh,
he's a
man,
dickhead. He's a dickhead.
dang. My dad drank a lot, but I grew up with four sisters, and I guess so I didn't have a girlfriend until I was in my early 20s. And my cousins were like football stars in high school and all these things. But anyways, they used to ask my mom, in Spanish, they would say, "Hey, is Carlitos, is he gay? He's never had a boyfriend and he doesn't have a mustache." Because that mustache. They used to call me butt face. Dude, I don't have.
Dude, how does that work? When I was growing up, I think my first introduction to a mustache was the Village People.
My
So
dad always had a mustache. Funny. But nah, it's like Seinfeld. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I've never liked dudes that way. I hung out with a lot of guys because I grew up with a bunch of sisters and I knew how they were like. And I used to tell myself, I don't want another girl telling me what to do. I know what they sound like. I know what they smell like. I know how they talk. I'm just going to wait a little bit. Save my money. I'm going to save my money and wait.
I know what they smell like. I want to use that the next time I'm out. Girl comes, approaches me at the bar, and I'll be like, I know your type. I've smelt you before.
I have a sister that smells like you.
Let's play a song. Perfect title: "The Power of Love." The Skeptics.
Mhm.
Give us a little rundown while I cue this sucker up.
So I thought of the Skeptics way back when because there's a band from Chile and they're called Tuna Cola, and I love their music. And so I thought, man, I wish I could make music like they do, but I still can't. They're super good. But anyways, so I thought, what about a song? I just in a band, and I thought of the Skeptics, and the first 3 or 4 songs I sang on it. So this one I'm singing in it. And during that time is when Ian said yes to a song that I had that wasn't part of the Skeptics. And I remember I emailed Ian and I said, "Hey, Ian, the whole band has been talking about it and we voted." And I told him it would be nice to have an English dude singing in her band. He laughed in the emails and he said yes, but you'll hear it. That's what the song, it's just, there's nothing special about it. It's just the power of love.
Let's do it.
Show, let it be your guide. No more violence, no more hate. Let's embrace the power of love. Seek the light, search for it. It can shine your way. Let it shine, let it show, let it be your guide. No more violence, no more hate. Let's embrace the power of love. The power of love. The power of love.
Boom! How good was that? Yeah? Wicked song. Really cool song there. Just as good. See, if you're making music like that, well, guess what you should do? You should be releasing that music through today's sponsor, which is, of course, our dear friends at DistroKid. And word has it, I've got something to tell you that's pre-recorded. Let's do it. This presentation is proudly sponsored by DistroKid. Introducing DistroKid, your ultimate music distribution solution. For just $29.99 a year, DistroKid empowers you to release unlimited tracks on all major music platforms worldwide, including Spotify, Apple Music, TikTok, and so many more. Plus, use my link distrokid.com/VIP/JadeStarr and get 7% off your first year. You'll also keep 100% of your royalties and gain access to valuable tools like instant verification on Spotify and detailed revenue analytics. Don't let your music go unheard. Join DistroKid today and take your music career to the next level. Thank you, DistroKid, for sponsoring today's presentation. Absolutely. Thank you so much, DistroKid. I couldn't do it without you. They've been sponsors of this show since, well, we worked it out, I think it was 2022. So that's a really long time. And I'm ever so thankful for their support and what they do to be able to release not only my music, but your music too. The link is in the description. It does help out the channel if you sign up using that. Let's bring our guest back. Why, hello.
Howdy doody.
What are you wearing?
A t-shirt and shorts.
Oh, shit, we're live. What's going on?
Oh, no.
Sorry, guys. I'm in a stupid mood today. Now, you have played in a plethora of bands. And so, have you played in bands and played live? And what's the story? What's some of the bands and gigs and stuff? Give us the early days of Tremor Bear.
So early 80s, I was in a band called the Solid Rock, and it was kind of like the Partridge Family.
Oh, wow.
3 of my sisters. 2 of them sang. One of them played the keyboards, and the other one tried to do the mix. You know, she was clueless with music, but you know what? Of those sisters, my 4 sisters, Flora, she would buy a ton of music. I remember as a kid in their bedroom, you know, listening to like, well, the Bee Gees, but ELO, Pablo Cruz, Boz Scaggs. There was hardly any rock. I mean, not hardly. There wasn't any type of rock. So I just grew up on pop and that type of stuff. But even though Flora didn't know what she was doing, she's the one that brought a lot of the music home later on in the 70s. We would all go in the room, and I remember she had a Toshiba stereo with a record player and an 8-track. And we would just sit there and listen to music all day. I'd get busted if I went in there and, you know, try to play, you know, music on a record player because I'd mess everything up. But
so did the Partridge Family band play shows? And
oh yeah, I forgot what I was talking about.
All right, I'll do it every day.
That's why I went, oh yeah. Yes, thank you, Jade. So we were a church band, and I wrote a lot of music, and I remember the church lent us their school bus. It was even like the Partridge. And we'd get on the bus and go different places and play. I remember it's called Sal's. It's a town that's maybe an hour and a half west of Tucson. It's in the Tohono O'odham Reservation. And we were playing out there on the stage. It was dirt, and dogs were peeing on the speakers and come around and sniff on your pedals and stuff. But yeah, I did that. And then later, during all that time, I was playing at church too. But later on, I played in this band called Praying Mantis with this guy named Randy Ritchie. Loved Randy. Randy passed away like 20 some years ago from hepatitis. Randy was like a major drug user, and he was an incredible blues guitarist, and his band would open up for some of the big, the big famous bands around the world here in Arizona. But he later on, when he started going to church, we formed a band and we called it Praying Mantis. And he wrote all of the songs except one. We did one song that was mine. It was called Carlos Sonata in A minor. And I miss those days. Those were a lot of fun. That was when in my late 20s. And then later on in like 2006, 7, I was in a band called Cruz Control. And that was kind of like, I don't know if you ever heard of a band from the 70s called Tower of Power.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, we even played one of their songs. I think there were like 12 of us. We had, the drummer, bass, guitar, keys, 2 singers, and like 3 or 4 horns. And, but these guys were like professional musicians. In fact, Rick, the guy who played trumpet, he was first called here in Tucson when there you go. There, something like that, see? But anyways, I stepped down from the band because I couldn't keep up with them. My skill level was nothing like them, but I had fun. I played for about a year or 2 with them, and that was it. They wanted to get a little bit more sophisticated, and I'm not very good when it comes to playing.
Oh,
Not
God.
at that level.
Oh,
not
Lord.
not so. It's like when I listen to Hetriani and like Sal, those guys, they just blow me away. I'm like, man, it's like anything, right? When you watch somebody do what you can't do, we just watch in amazement, like athletes, singers, anybody that can do things that you wish that you could do. We just watch in amazement. So, anyways.
Look, I can say the same thing about me listening to you play guitar. I wish I could play guitar as good as you. So, I'm a terrible guitarist. I suck. But we all have our like opinions of ourselves and how it's weird. I remember judging myself against people when I was young, going, "Oh man, I could never be like that." I just don't have the time. My brain doesn't have the mental. I can't deal with that anxiety anymore, so I just don't do it.
Get older, and I stopped doing that too.
Older but wiser, as they say. Yeah. Now you mentioned about church bands. Look, I think this is like 175th interview I've done. Out of all those interviews, I would have to say at least 150, at least, started their journey in a church. So this is a very common thing. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story about when I was young and music and church. I met this girl once at a nightclub, and we're dancing and it all macking on, as they say, the youngsters. Do they? I don't know. Anyway, we started dating and it had been 2 weeks, and she told me she was in a band as well, and I was in a band, but she didn't specify. I was a metalhead, crusty hair, demonic T-shirts, and she invited me to come and see her band play. Well, let me tell you, Tremor Bear, it was at this church, and I wore my best death metal T-shirt that day, not knowing anything, and rolled up and was like, uh-oh, I'm wearing a T-shirt with the band Deicide on the front, which means kill all that is holy. Oh no, what am I going to do? Like, I don't believe any of this. It's just a band. And it was so shit. But you know what? Everybody there was just like, we understand it's just a metal band. It's okay. I felt so welcomed. And I had the best time. And I can understand why a lot of good music comes out of that, because it's almost like this YouTube community, but in a beautiful church. Supportive, very supportive, And we were talking about this last night on Clubhouse. Every time on Walk With Me, when I've gone and filmed inside a cathedral, I'm not a religious person, but I swear, Carlos, every time I've gone into a church, you don't see a lot of what I've filmed in there, because I haven't. I've sat down in a pew and just gone, far out. There's nothing like this. I can't explain it, right? Every time I walk out, like I've been in 5 churches here in Melbourne since doing Walk With Me, I just feel, I feel ready for the next thing. It's really hard to explain. I don't feel like a spirit or any of that. I just feel good after it. Why do you think that is? I want to hear your perspective on it.
I don't know. I mean, you said that you don't feel any spirit or anything, but do you think that we all have spirits? We all have a soul?
Oh yeah, yeah. I haven't ever felt like I'm communicating with anything bigger, if that's makes more sense.
Oh.
I'm still encapsulated in my own tiny mind and going, no, I'm good. I'll just keep in. Anyway, I'm not converted or anything, but I understand the beauty. I don't know. I'm confused.
So, I mean, I've read a lot of the Bible and I still read a lot of it. I read it every day. And, you know, I'm not any more special than you are or holier than you or anything. But the little bit, you know, that I've been reading is God is not like what we are. He's or, you know, whatever you want to call him. I call him he. He's different. He has a different, he's spirit. He might be like the angels. We don't know. In the Bible, it says that someday we'll become like him and, you know, live eternal. So that in this body, we can't live eternally. So I think that when you feel that good stuff, you might be, you know, feeling that he's around. He's not just at churches, he's everywhere. And you might just, your spirit or your soul might be calmed down enough to realize that, hey, there's something more than just where we're at. That's my answer. I don't know. I'm not a priest. I'm not.
Do any of us have the answer? The one thing is, look, I've always said this. I feel like I don't have time to try and understand things I can't. So what I can do while I'm here is try and be the very best I possibly can, knowing I'll make mistakes, and try and do the absolute, as much as I can, the right thing. So then when we get to whatever happens, I should be okay. I'll be like, I've got examples. I've got a list.
Yeah. Here's the thing, right? I remember I worked at a community college for almost 30 years. I have a master's in counseling, and I would sit down with students who were crying, beaten, hungry, all kinds of things, having a hard time with school. And I remember a girl come in, and she was gay, and she was crying because her family had rejected her. She actually went to the church that I was going to, and the people there rejected her. And, you know, she was being told that she's going to go to hell and all that. And I just said to her, you know what? I don't own hell. You don't own hell. They don't own hell or heaven. God owns heaven and hell. It's his house. He gets to decide who's coming over and who isn't. So don't worry about them. Worry about, you know, just your spirit, your soul. I told her, because I said, you know, she had read the Bible, and I said, just you know, just be nice to people, be kind to people, and, you know, don't worry about people telling you you're going to hell, because it's not their place.
That's
You know, God owns heaven and hell. He gets to decide who's going where, not us.
That is it. That's the thing. Like, I've never understood.
I would never tell anybody that.
That's the thing. I've never understood the concept of this, because it is, you know, you'll have your moment. You'll meet Jesus or whatever it is. You know, you'll have your thing, and that'll be between you and them. So why the fuck are you telling me that's what I've never understood. Whenever I hear a human mouth flapping this shit of like, this is what's gonna, it's like, nah, go flap somewhere else, man, really. Because you can't have it both ways. You can't have it that it's a moment between me and the higher power, and at the same time you're telling me if I don't do it your way, it's fuck off. So, you know, and you know, I've always been around a lot of religious people my whole life, and I have no problem. I don't care. You know?
Check this out. I think it's just a human thing. Like, for example, I wasn't going to bring this up, but I'm going to bring it up anyways. Like the environmental stuff. And I'll get called, an idiot. I'll get called to this, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're this, you're that, you're a right wing, a conservative, or it doesn't matter. What we believe, what we think, somebody is always going to tell you that you're crap. Like for like the environment stuff, I know that plastic messes up our world, the water, it's poisonous to us, tell us not to use those plastic bottles, drink water out of like a glass. I know that, we put a lot of crap into the air from the exhaust and everything, but I don't think that it's going to end the world the way we're being told. Now, when I say that, oh man, people get on my case like people get on your case about being a trans person. It's like, so I don't even bring it up.
Yeah.
It's not important. That's not important to me.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, I'm right. I'm 62 years old. If I get to live like my dad, I have 10 years left. And that's what that's what I'm looking forward to. The next 10 years.
Healthy conversation is good.
Mhm.
But there isn't that. I mean, a lot of people think that, but we had a healthy conversation. I watch a lot of debate shows on YouTube, and at the end of them, I just go, well, that was 2 hours and nothing has changed. Nothing. It's just two assholes flapping their gums about shit that they want. And, it kind of reminds me of Star Wars. Star Wars never used to be like it is now, and I'm not talking about Disney being woke or any of that. I'm just talking about the way fans react to things and go, but I wanted it this way. And it's like, but you didn't write the movie. Shut the fuck up. Like, you know what? Sometimes you can't have what you want. I know it is a tough pill to swallow, but you know what? Most of us were taught this when we were 8. So I don't know what else to tell you.
We're a trip. We're a trip. We're a trip. We have our own weird thoughts. I also heard a saying that educated people have weird thoughts. You could have the thought, but you don't act on it. I don't know what that means. I don't know. I went to school for a long time, but I don't know, man. We're just complicated. And we just have to be nice to each other. Boom, that's it.
It is simple, isn't it? It's just
if you don't like the way that person looks,
don't look.
How they just walk away.
Yeah.
You don't have to say anything rude or anything,
Yeah.
That's the other thing, Jade. As a Christian, in the Bible, it says that we don't judge people who are non-believers.
Yeah. Well,
I can't judge you.
Yeah.
I can't judge anybody, even a believer, unless I know for sure that what they're doing is messed up. Even then, I've gone up to people and said, this is the way I approach it. I've said, I've seen and heard that you're doing this, this, and that. You think it's going to affect your family? You think it might affect you, your job? And I would tell them, I'm not telling you what to do, but think about these things because I am allowed to tell you this. But if you're a non-believer, man, I can't go up to someone and say you're going to hell. Why? Because the way you look, what you think, or it's not my job. I didn't write the movie.
Yeah, look, it's not exactly the same, but similar. Like being trans, I don't want anyone else to be trans. Like it's horrible. It sucks, right? And I never wanted to have this, right? But you make it. It's there. It's been there for your whole life. You've got to confront it. I waited till 30, and and watched what happened. People go, oh, but you're training people to be this. You want more people to... No, man. Nobody wants that. But you want to have the facilities for somebody who may be going through it. Like, because I didn't have that. You just want the facilities, even if they're not used, right? So, and there's imposters in every kind of thing. And you get... The thing is, you lose everything when you come out as trans. You do. You just, everything's gone. One day you got all this stuff, and then the next day you don't have a job, and you just lose everything. Family's gone. Everyone's gone. It's not an awesome path. It's not like sunshine and lollipops, but who cares? I don't give a fuck. You just get on, live. I love this section because I've had this written down as my bullet point of love, life, and faith. And I think we've covered a little snippet of that. How did you find this YouTube community, Carlos?
I remember in 2015, I bought an iPad, and I don't know who told me something about GarageBand, that you could make music. And Jade, yeah, I might have my degrees and all that, but I'm slow. Doesn't mean I'm smart. I looked at GarageBand and I had such a hard time. It didn't make sense to me. I've never seen anything like that until it, like, a little switch clicked on. It's like, oh, these are tracks. Oh, you put a bass here, you put a guitar here, you do this and that. And so one day I decided, I think this was 2020. You know, we were all home during that time because of the lockdown, or whatever you want to call it, pandemic. Anyways, I was looking around and I found this dude, and I thought, oh, another British dude that loves to just talk. And I'm like, come on, just say it. Just say how you turn this knob. So I went a little forward. It was Pete Johns. That's who it was.
The gateway
And remember,
drug.
yep. And remember, I told you earlier that Australians sound like Brits to me. We don't know better, right? I mean, I'm South Tucson, just a dude, a vato in the hood. But anyways, that's how I got into it. I saw Pete and I was like, okay, let me go back, because he explained exactly what I needed after he spoke. And I thought, okay, cool. So then I started watching some of his videos, and I didn't know, well, I kind of did know that things were live, but I remember seeing the first live show, and I was in there, and I think I went by G-Los or something before it was Tremor Bear.
G-Lo.
That's what they would call me at church. Guitar Los, G-Los.
Bang.
But anyways,
So
that's
you
how I
get, you
found
get your song on Pete Johns' YM. How was that first song?
that was a trip.
Yeah.
That was the first song that we played, because I was like, I listened to the music, and you watch the chat, and you hear people say, oh, that's cool, because all my life I've written music. I've done those 4 tracks that there used to be in the 80s and 90s, and I would play them to my sisters and my friends, and they would just say, oh, how nice. Oh, that's nice. I'm like, oh. And so I never got really serious about it, but
No.
yeah, Pete Johns, man, it changed everything. And I remember I would ask, can I send my song? And he said, well, just wait a little bit. Want to make sure that that you're here a little bit more. He didn't say that to me, but he would say that. And I was like, okay, because I liked it. I was having fun listening to all this music. And like after 2-3 weeks, I sent in my song, and the following week he played it, and people were like, oh, that sounds jazzy. That sounds good. It sounds whatever. And I just started submitting more music. So.
And we're very thankful that you have been. I mean, as I said, I think I've played you on this show a bunch of times, and you are a bit of a favorite. I know when I mentioned, you probably don't realize this, when I put out there, I'm interviewing Tremor Bear, so many people have been excited about this interview, including me. And you probably don't want to even hear this. It's not going to change you. But it's true. It is true. And for good reason. Because here's the thing. This is the first time we're really finding out anything about you. But for the longest time, it's been your music that's, this is what's interesting about this community. We don't really know each other's personal details, but we know each other through our music. And that is a lot. More than what we think it is. It tells a very strong story. And that leads me into playing another song. I guess that was a segue. this is Bear's brain, because we just had we just went inside your brain verbally. Let's do it musically. I'll play the song and then we'll find out more about it. Let's do it. Folks, this is Bear's Brain by Tremor Bear. Let's oj. All right, so now we've all had a lesson of what goes on inside Carlos's brain with that video clip. Is that what's happening?
Sort of, yeah. So
Is it an is that an MRI, right?
yeah, you heard all these different types of, I would say, types of music, like genres a little bit. I tried. You know, you heard that little Mexican thing happening with a guitar, you know, that flavor thing.
It was beautiful.
You know, stuff like that. But my brain, when I was 9 years old, I was writing to my friend's George's house. I think I was in, what grade are we in when we're 9? Third or fourth? And I had just gotten a bike and I was riding and I was crossing a street and I got hit really hard by a car. Busted my head open.
Oh.
Yeah, and I remember later on, my mom, you know, she told me, you know, when you grow up and you hear the story later, that, you know, as she was walking there, all the women that were there were like, "Oh, I feel so bad for the mom. This little boy got killed," you know. And anyways, so I survived that.
Thank fuck.
I know it was, and
man,
it was hard, man. I couldn't move my head for like 2-3 months that whole summer.
How did it happen?
I didn't see a car coming, and this guy that was my sister's knew him from high school. He had his hot rod, and I crossed on my 10 speed, and boom, he hit me.
Oh.
And I flipped. I landed. I think I hit the back of my lower back on his trunk, and then I went forward and hit my head on the pavement on the road. And that was the first time I hit my head. And later on, like less than 10 years later, I got my bell rung twice in football. Have you ever got your head hit really hurt?
Yeah.
And you hear that?
Yeah. Yeah. Once playing AFL as a kid, I took a big mark. They call it a mark. You jump over their shoulders and catch the ball. And I caught the ball, and as I came down, head first straight into the ground, and oh man, I'll never forget the sound that went through my head. It was, yeah, that was a concussion and a half.
So that happened to me about 4 or 5 times from 9 to 19 when I was a junior in high school. One of my friends said, let's go over to the mines and apply for work so that we could make money during summer break, and have money for our senior year. So we went. I was with Andres. That was his name, but we called him Andy. And I told Andy, I know a shortcut, coming back home. And I used to drive my dad's red VW Beetle. And on the way back, I flipped it. I rolled the car. I woke up. And all there was some dust in the air, dirt. The windshield had popped out. The roof was crushed. We landed right side up, and I looked over, and Andy wasn't there. And it's funny because, like the movies, how people react right away when they're with a friend or something. It was exactly like that. I got out of the car and I was screaming, Andy, Andy, where are you? He was about, 30, 40 meters away from the car, laying face down in the wash and the dirt. We're out in the desert. And it was during winter, so we had our coats on. And I picked up Andy, lifted him up the floor, and I said, in the name of Jesus, wake up. Going else to say, and I shook him. And he was like, what's happening? What's happening? He was like, where are my sunglasses? That was the first thing. And then I told him what happened. He was like, oh, shit, man. And so we sat there for about 10, 15, 20 minutes until our heads stopped ringing, that sound.
Yep.
So that was one time. And then again, when I was 19, I ran a stop here in Tucson downtown, and I got hit by a big old, it's called TEP, Tucson Electric Power. I got hit by one of the trucks, and I was knocked out for a few 15, 20 minutes until the fireman woke me up. And I had a really hard time getting through university and all that, with headaches, with sounds that I didn't understand in my head. And, all that was my brain getting hit. And it wasn't until maybe 10, 15, like 10 years ago where TBI was, you first heard that acronym.
Yep.
I'm like, I think I have that. There's days, Jade, where I just hold my head and I don't want to even be here. I remember once in the chat, I said that by 1 or 2 o'clock, I just want to go away. Boom.
Yeah.
Because my head, you can't think straight. My ears are constantly ringing, always ringing. My neck always hurts. I feel like sometimes my head's going to blow up on the side, And now I understand what all these professional athletes go through. So,
yeah, and it amazes me. There's still pushback for head injuries and stuff. I mean, most of I watch wrestling, and everyone goes, "Man, it's fake." So many wrestlers die young, and especially wrestlers from the 80s and 90s, where they were like, even though the chairs that they use, they're tricked, right? So they're gimmicked. That's the term in wrestling. Back in those days, they were like fully smashing people in the head with a fold-up chair. And I don't know about you, like, that's a pretty fucking stupid thing to do. I understand in football and stuff, like that's a contact sport, but literally smashing somebody in the head with a chair is really stupid. And it took them to sue, a bunch of wrestlers end up suing Vince McMahon and saying, we've all got major head injuries. Like, I can't think anymore. I've got migraines. I'm making poor decisions. In fact, one wrestler even murdered his whole family, Chris Benoit.
Oh.
And when they x-rayed his brain, or then checked his brain after, because he killed his family, then he killed himself. They checked his brain and they said he was like in his 40s. He had the brain of a 90-year-old Alzheimer's patient. And that don't come just normally, you know. That comes from repeated shots to the head.
Head banging.
Well, head banging is pretty safe. Until you headbang somebody else's head, and that is, I've done that before. I have a scar across my eye from that. But yeah, I'm sorry to hear that you go through that. It's funny, you know, that here we are trying to build AI, the people in power, and we don't even understand our own brains. How does that work? I don't think.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I don't think it's going to work too good. Anyway, now. I want to get into how you make music, because you've got all that beautiful gear behind you. Is there a favorite guitar back there that you want to show off? And what's a process for making a song? What gear do you use? Doors, anything like that, and hardware? Give us the rundown of maybe your favorite guitar and how you make music.
I use that Gretsch. It has an awesome sound. It's a
We want to see it. The guitarists are drooling.
It's an expensive.
Far out. Look at that.
And you heard that on Bear's Brain, the beginning, that rhythm where it's kind of dirty. That's this guitar.
That would be in my bed with me each night.
Ouch, that would hurt. And
I didn't say I was going to fuck it. But it would just be next to me.
I just have a bunch of guitars, and whatever I feel like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to play that. I'm going to play that. I like the way this one looks. Look at it. It's a Gibson.
Wow. Lift it up.
Check it out, Hugh. Mr. Hugh.
That's a beauty.
Anyways, I have a bunch of these guitars. I just like guitars. I don't know. You know, around here, guys buy guns, trucks, but I buy a guitar.
Yeah. Look, do you know how many times on Facebook do I see a meme every day about guitars? Oh, there's some joke about, well, I just had to buy another one. It is true, isn't it? What is it about buying a guitar that makes you feel va-va-voom?
I don't know. It's just, they're fun to look at. Sometimes I just walk in here and I sit, and I don't know if you could see the cases over here, but I have cases. I have more guitars here in the case, more over here. And I don't know. I just like them. I think they're cool. So nothing, I wouldn't kill for them or I wouldn't like lose my house over them or anything like that. You know, I just like them. I buy most of my guitars that I have are not the expensive ones, you know?
Yeah, I'm the same. I would love to buy a guitar for like $7,000, but I just can't justify it. Like I sit there and go, 500's enough.
There you go.
I think that's my most expensive. That's enough.
And I use Logic. I was using GarageBand, and then I got into Logic now. And I use a few apps because of this chick named Jade Starr. I use, what is it called, that reverb, Alteza?
Alteza, yeah.
Alteza. Oh man, you could hear it in every one of my songs. It's in there. It's in all of them.
It's so good, isn't it?
It's awesome.
You know, I was thinking the other day, Carlos, I think I did a review of this like 5 years ago, and I use it every day. And I think I'm overdue to do a new review of it, because I opened it up yesterday and was like, there's all these knobs I don't turn. And I'm only using like 3 knobs on it, and it's enough, but I forget how much more is inside that app. It's a really good app. I love it. Throw us some more apps. I'll bring them up on the screen.
Nimbrini now has a lot of amps that are coming out.
Yeah.
I have like 4 of them. I have their JC 120. I have their, it's like the 80s, like the Rockman back in the 80s, 70, 80. Which other one do I have? I have a Marshall and the Fender, their twin reverb.
That's a good one too. I mean, look at how big their selection is. It's got massive, hasn't it?
Yep.
And I'm still missing heaps of them. I didn't realize how many I'm missing. Jesus.
And I only buy things when they're on sale.
Yep.
You know, I buy it when it's on sale. And I have a bunch of apps that I've been introduced by through you, and I use them. The ones that I wish I could use more would be some of those synthesizer apps, but they're more for iPad, and I use a Mac for Logic.
That was going to be my next thing, because it's always interesting to find when people find Pete, because he is predominantly iOS. But all this, again, even with my show too, like I do hear people go, "Oh, I would watch you more often if you did more stuff on desktop." And it's like, yeah, but it's the same shit. It's just got a different name.
Oh, there you go. See, people don't know that. That's what the deal is. People don't understand that.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that I don't use my iPad anymore for music is because of my shaking.
Right.
You have to use your finger for everything.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time with a mouse even now, you know, trying to line things up and click on it, because sometimes, you know, it's like a 7.4 going, you know, and you have to just get it right.
See, this is one of the reasons I love doing this, because now I'm going to hear your music going forward from this day and always think, oh man, that's what you had to put up with to put this out. This is this extra step, this stuff, the private battles that go on with us, that makes each song so important, so relevant, and so much work that goes into it, not only writing the song and putting it together, but that in itself of like battling that is huge, and it makes the song even more mwah, mwah. What am I talking about? I'm a dickhead today. Every day. So how did the story of the Skeptics come about?
I wanted a band. There's a band from Chile. They're called Tuna Cola, and I wanted to have that sound, that feel. I just like them. Some of their songs are in English, some of them aren't. If you guys check them out, Tuna Cola, they're fun. So I just thought, I'm going to make a band up. It's just me. I could say that it's a band. So I did the band. And I had worked with Ian on one song. It's that one song that was submitted to the first album that Russ put together for Cancer.
Yep.
Forget the name. Yeah. And it's called Losing Her. And that was our first song together. And after that song, I thought, man, Ian would be awesome, you know, to sing in the Skeptics. I think it'd be fun. So I asked him and he said yes. And we just went from there. Just, you know, it's just a made up thing.
Because I muted myself. Because you've got music with the Skeptics. So there's a Bandcamp page for that. I've linked that down in the description. And all this stuff is available on streaming services as well. Isn't it? Yes. Let me make sure. Here we go.
With DistroKid.
Hey, with DistroKid. And yeah, so here's Apple Music and all the stuff here. So you can find it all here, guys. Again, links in the description and all that jazz. And where was I? I'm getting lost here. I was looking for something else over here. Now I'm getting on. Let's play a song because we got 2 more to get in. That's what I was going to do. So, and you just mentioned the song, Losing Her. So let's do that right now. Let's Oge, my friends. I'll just get rid of this comment off the screen. Boom. And we're ready to go. This is Losing Her, the Skeptics. Let's Oge. unmute myself. That is just primo quality. You hear that? I'm listening to that on my cans, and that is a beautifully recorded, beautifully performed, beautifully mastered song. If I heard that on the radio, I would think that was done in a high-end studio. That is just awesome.
Wow, thanks. When Ian sang on it, I sent what I had. The other Losing Her Without Ian is on my YouTube channel. But when I got his voice on the music, I was like, oh, dang, this thing needs more. So I added those keys. I wanted it to sound more airy, just different. We always wanted to sound the best.
Now, you've collaborated with quite a few people in the community, I'm pretty sure. Who are some of the people that you've collaborated with?
The first collab was with Pete John. He liked one of my songs and he said, yeah, I'll do it, Bear. And I'm like, cool.
I remember that.
And then Ron with, there were like 3 or 4 songs that we did. Ron has a killer voice, just a unique, cool voice. And I think hopefully we're going to do something again. And then with Hugh, Mr. Hugh, we did one song. And then with Clayton Von Clue sent me some jams and I added stuff to it. And I think that's it. But I have a hard time reaching out to people and asking because I've always had this thing that I'm not good enough, that I'm not, oh, they won't like my music and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that so that people say, oh no, but Bear, you're good, man. Well, I've heard all that, but we all have our thing, right? Something's always broken inside of us. And that's something that's like that. I remember when I was a kid, a young teenager with my mom, I used to tell my mom, oh, look at that guy. Mom, I wish I looked like him. I wish I could be like that. And I remember the first time I told her, she looked at me with these eyes like, what in the world are you talking about? Like, and I'm like, Mom, it's not that I like that guy. I just wish that I looked like him. Look at how, tall, he's thin, he's this and that. I was 6 feet back then. I've shrunk to 5'10" because of my back problems and my neck. But I've always thought that I wasn't good enough for something. So when people ask me, hey, you want to collab? I'm like, yeah, sure. But I hear some of the, like you, man, Hugh is awesome. And I'm like, man, I can't play the way he does at his level. Like with you, with your voice, I remember the first time I heard you sing, I was like, dang, what am I even doing? Trying to play and sing. I've always had
Thank
that,
you.
but but it's more than that. It's like I'm like that, not just with music, but with my life. Like being a dad, I have 4 daughters. I've always been, why am I a dad? Why do they call me dad? I'm not good enough to be a dad. I'm not good enough for this or that. So that's just my hang up.
Well,
right? We all
this is what I live for. This is the thing. This is having people on this show because you are good enough. And I know, look, from interactions I've had with you over the years, I know this imposter syndrome, and I've seen you type in the chat. I watch everything, man. I've seen you type in the chat many times. Oh, I'm not good. I understand. I've seen this, and I think bullshit. There's people who want to make music with you, and from what we have heard today and over the years, your music is incredible. What you write is incredible. You're very talented, and yeah, you should know that you are a fucking very talented artist. So
thank you.
There's that. We've got that cleared, so no more in the chat.
No more bullshit.
I suck. No, look, we all do it no matter what. It's our brains. Again, we don't understand why.
But here's the other part of it. Like I said, I don't know. I mean, we all have our thing, but in these last few years, I've never done drugs. Well, no drugs. Just I did pot in my 30s a little bit. I was never a drinker or anything like that. But lately, in these last 2-3 years, man, I've been drinking a lot, trying to numb that feeling that I'm not good enough. Like, what it goes beyond what just people say sometimes. It's like, sometimes I drink a glass of whiskey and it knocks me out, and then I'm real sick the next day. I can't think about anything.
Oh.
But not even a cup. I mean, I'm talking about a glass of whiskey, and it I don't know. I need to stop doing that, and maybe I just need to reach out to people and say, "Hey, you want to do a collab? You want to do something?"
Dude,
No.
look, this is the one thing that with musicians and consistency, and it's heartbreaking. It's something I've always noticed. When someone's a really good, consistent musician, and they continuously are putting out good stuff, people overlook and go, "Oh yeah, we know they make good stuff." That's and they just expect it, and you kind of don't get the credit sometimes that you think, "Oh, am I not doing the right thing?" And because people just take it for granted that you're consistent and good, and sometimes you don't hear that feedback because people go, "Oh, they." I think you get the point I'm trying to say, and it sucks because even the best artists sit there and question themselves over and over, and even when you get told you're really good, it doesn't always soothe the pain, does it?
No.
It's a tough one. We got to get out of here. I've only got 2 minutes left because we got Laurie's party happening, and so I feel bad for that. So I'm going to hit you with our last question. We're at the end of everything that I had anyway. You know what it's going to be. You know the last question. If somebody's going to start making something, it would be the best time for them to do it, Tremor Bear.
When's the best time?
Yeah.
When they feel good about themselves. No, not really. Now. Just do it now, man. Get on there. Smack the keys, the strings, whatever you play, the skin, anything. Just do it.
Get it done, bitches.
Do it.
All right. I want to thank you so much for coming on here, Carlos. It's been awesome. I myself was nervous today, right? I'm nervous for these things too. I want to do a good interview and help move the show along, get people on, know people. So I'm always nervous about this stuff, but I'm so glad you came on. I'm so glad you make great music and are part of this community. And I'm sure everybody who's been in the chat agrees 100%. And your music's fantastic. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Jade. It means a lot. Thanks.
My pleasure. Please stay on the line. We'll be dumping everybody over. Folks, we're playing our last song. I want to thank all of you for being here today and watching live. And if you're watching on the replay as well, all this stuff, thumbs up, subscribe, all the metrics, all that kind of thing you can do. And it's wonderful. I want to thank DistroKid for sponsoring the show once again. And we're going to go out with Not Now by the Skeptics. Anything you'd like to tell us about this song as we play it?
So when I asked Ian if he would be in the Skeptics, he got this song from, I don't know how he did it, and I'm sure you know how, but he took my vocals out and he put his in. And when I heard his vocals, I had to add just a little here and there and change some things because, he has such an awesome voice. But you'll see in the credits, I actually wrote the song. I did the lyrics and everything. And the other one, Losing Her, the lyrics were by Ian, and the vocal melody is Ian. I just do the music. But anyways, that's what it's about.
Unmute myself. Let's do it. We'll see you over at Laurie's Mishmash. I'll automatically dump you over there. Do the things that make you happy. Mistakes make you better. We'll all rise together. Stay awake. And we'll see you at the Walk With Me finale for season 6 tomorrow. And at Laurie's. All right, let's do it. This is Not Now by the Skeptics. Let's go.